Previously on X-Men.
What is up, my nerds? The day is here. I've been anticipating this for 30 years now. 30 fucking years. I know the fucking number. I don't know. X-Men 97. The greatness that is X-Men is here. First two episodes, anyway. Have dropped on Disney Plus, and here's my brief spoiler-ish review. There's gonna be spoilers, so if you don't like spoilers, fucking sorry, can't help you. But yes, first two episodes are out. Quick recap: X-Men 97 is not a reboot; it is a continuation of the original X-Men series from 1992. That carried on for 5 seasons, ending in 97. Hence, X-Men 97. So this picks up right after the last episode, with Xavier having perished and died. The X-Men are trying to figure out how to continue without Professor X. So the first episode deals with a little bit of a chaos and who goes where and how everything's going to be established, with some cool nods to not only the original series, but the comics they were based from. Mainly the Jim Lee, Chris Claremont era, like the basketball scenario, straight out of the comics, but yeah, so it comes straight out of there. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, this fucking show is perfection. It is beautiful. The animation has been updated. Looks a lot like the original, right? Looks a lot like what we were used to. But not. It's been upgraded for now. Very fluid, very crisp, just gorgeous sequences, gorgeous colors. The characters have been upgraded as well, so they look like the original series, but again, we've upped the ante. So let's start off with the first episode. First episode's to me my X-Men. As I said, they're trying to get everything together. We've got a scenario where they're chasing down Bolivar Trask as Sentinel Technologies made its way onto the streets and they're chasing mutants, right? So we've got our X-Men, the original core, Morph now coming back into the fold, and Bishop. Bishop, no explanation why he's there yet. They kind of dropped in a little bit of a breadcrumb regarding his time bracelet. So I'm pretty sure we'll dive into that later on and see why he's there. But he's part of the crew too, right? And yeah, so they are working on trying to save Sunspot, who has been apprehended by the Friends of Humanity, who have Sentinel Technology. We get some really badass fucking sequences. But first of all, I don't even know how the hell I missed this. First of all, the fucking show starts off with an updated version of the intro. intro. And I'm talking in a whole bunch of different areas. The song's been remixed and updated. Still the song to its core, but perked up a little bit. But they have gone and reanimated or redone the intro frame to frame. So every bit of that original fucking intro that we all loved has been redone and looks fucking cool. On top of that, given that, we're talking about episode 2 as well, I've also noticed, I'm wondering actually if it's going to be going forward, but episode 2's intro is updated as well in that they include Magneto now that he's a part of the school, which we'll get to in a minute. And there are little flashes of scenarios. Dark Phoenix Saga is in there, as well as Bishop going through time. But it's the visual from last season redone. One of the coolest one I like is Morph's little action scene sequence with Sinister running through his head, and that looks really haunting and cool. Really, really dope. So fucking kudos to the team for redoing that intro. That shit, boy, goosebumps. I know, honestly, the whole 2 episodes that was pretty much the vibe throughout the whole 2 episodes. Every ounce of my childhood just came rushing back. I felt like I was a kid, and I got a little emotional at times, not gonna lie. It hits you. They're able to hold on to those mature storylines that were actually ahead of its time, honestly. Not that they were too mature, but they were some mature storylines. Which, for all those people crying that the X-Men are woke, now the X-Men have always been fucking woke. The X-Men have been woke since day one. If you don't understand what mutants stand for, you don't know shit. You haven't read a fucking comic. You don't understand what they are and have been pushing regarding oppression since day one. Get your shit together before you come out here barking. But the mature storylines are there. The fun aspects are there. The action sequence are phenomenal. Episode 1 has a handful of them. There's a sequence with Cyclops whooping the Friends of Humanity ass. Hand-to-hand combat with a little optic blast. Cyclops was easily the favorite throughout the 2 episodes. He had that. There's a scenario where the Blackbird gets shot down. Everyone's flying out and rescued. And he just optic blasts his way straight down to the ground, and we get our "To Me, My X-Men" line. The level of badassery, epic. I'm all over the place. I apologize, but that's what this did to me. It was just so good. So yeah, we've got the Friends of Humanity fight scenes. We've got the clip from, it was running around. There's a clip of the X-Men as a team fighting the Sentinels and Master Mold. Awesome. The action in both of these episodes is just extraordinary. This is what we have to look forward to. This show is just going to blow away everything else. It's crazy. I did like the nods to the 90s throughout both episodes. From the clothing of some of the background characters to the rave that they find Sunspot at. Really cool to keep up with the vibes. Awesome writing from, I just went blank. Bo DeMaio. I apologize. I went completely blank on that one. Bo DeMaio. Jay Castorona is, I said that so, Castorona. He's a supervising director. He directs the first one. Great direction. Some great scenarios. Jean has a vision at one point of the future or a future scenario. We get our Kirby crackles, which are really cool. The whole visuals surrounding the future attacking her per se, just surrounding her, was really dope. We even get our infamous glowing claws in the Sentinel fight screen sequence, and that shit was badass. The way that it goes from Gambit to Gambit to Morph to the Sentinel, and just Logan completely decimates that Sentinel, as he should. Dope. My only issue so far, I think, is just the voices. So we have much of the original voices back, some in different places, and it's 30 years, so we've aged, and they're not that noticeable. The only one that really bothered me a little bit was Rogue's. It didn't feel as natural as the original one did. This one felt a little bit more forced, and it was just a little off. Logan sounded a little scruffier than usual, which worked. It was cool. But I think that's really the only thing. And that's even itsy bitsy. So yeah, first episode, we get all that. Magneto drops in to tell everyone that he has been left in Xavier's will as the new headmaster, and pretty much all his belongings, his money, his house, the X-Men, they're all his. Goes into the next episode where the UN is coming after Magneto now that he's made himself a presence as a hero, or trying to do some hero things around the world. They come to the X-Men's doorstep, and he surrenders and goes to court, much like Beast did in the season 1, right? And this is also a storyline from the comics as well, if you don't have it. So we've got him in court going on trial. At the same time, the Friends of Humanity are planning an insurrection led by the Executioner, Carl Dent, who gives me John Wraith vibes from Ultimate X-Men with the claws across the face. And he was a fucking badass in his episode. Like, he was dope. The hand-to-hand fight sequence between him and Cyclops was phenomenal. Him putting his uniform and whatnot together was fucking dope. Overall, really dug the direction of the second episode. More drama. We even get a tearjerker in that Storm loses her powers. She gets shot with some a weapon from the Executioner that just kills her X gene, and she's a human. She leaves the X-Men, which is going to be interesting to see how that develops. But one of my favorite scenes or scenarios in the second episode is Jean goes into labor. Cyclops leaves Logan with Jean to watch over her. She goes into labor, and that whole thing played off like a rom-com, like just something you'd see in a sitcom. Logan's face was spot on. Like the amount of fear in his face as she's going into labor was hysterical. I laughed. So that's playing out while the X-Men are fighting at the UN. This leads to Nathan Christopher, aka Cable, one of my favorite freaking characters from the 90s and period. I love Cable. Some kick-ass scenes from Magneto just owning shit, like morphing into a couple of our favorites like Lady Deathstrike, Colossus, and Psylocke. And I'm hoping they get brought back around, and that's not just a little cop-out to give them their cameos. I hope we get some fleshed out Colossus time, for sure. And one of the more interesting things, it wouldn't be X-Men without its own fair share of drama, right? We get a little nod to a classic X-Men storyline as we find out that Rogue and Magneto have history. Something happened. They touched. Some little shenanigans happened. Which is from the great Jim Lee and Chris Claremont days when they were in the Savage line. So that's a nod to that. But now we have a triangle. We have Rogue, Magneto, and Gambit. So that's going to be fun to flesh out. Now that we're hopefully moving past the Jean, Logan, and Scott scenario, or are we? Because we get a knock at the door at the end of the episode, and it's Jean? That's right, Jean Grey's at the door. And presumably, Madeline Pryor has had Nathan Christopher, which is our Inferno, and great storylines develop from that. A lot to be excited for as we continue with the season. 10 episodes, 1 episode every week. Should have done it on Saturday mornings. You guys dropped the ball on that one. I mean, what were you thinking? Really should have dropped those on Saturday mornings. I'm excited. I hope that they continue with the vibes and the flow and just maintain this momentum throughout this season and this season 2 and forward. I really hope that this can keep going and they can dive into the 2000s X-Men and show them develop into a new era. That would be the end goal for me personally, for them to do that. And really quick, before I even forget, I talked about the intros. Did anybody else notice the Pride of the X-Men Easter egg with Magneto? Or is it just me? Either way, absolutely love this show. 10 out of 10 for me so far. I hope that it maintains its quality. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. And understand, I appreciate you. Wolverine. Sorry, I can't help but make the voice. Is out.